Thanks for taking time to listen to us. We should be on for about 15 minutes. It's quite a hefty subject. Thanks, Tim. I'm Chris Mantle. I'm an agency development manager from Google. That'll be me in about an hour. Along with me is my colleague James. And James is an account strategist from Google. Do you want to explain a little bit about what you do?
Yep, so I'm working with innovation on helping develop their existing accounts, so working with them on strategy, optimizing, just basically making the accounts work and help it grow your business basically.
To sum it up, agencies like Innovation Visual support businesses with digital strategy and implementation, and we kind of sit behind that and support Innovation Visual. So that's in a nutshell what we do. We normally have sort of a number of general topics that we talk about at these sort of events. So in typical Innovation Visual fashion, Tim asked us to talk about something that's very, very new, with a very limited amount of information that's available for us to share externally. So again, thanks for that, Tim. Bear with us though, we've got some information. We'll kind of fly through bits of it because some of it's a little bit wordy. There might be 20 seconds or so at the end to ask us some questions, so feel free to. But if not, just grab us individually afterwards and ask us some questions. And if you get a blank stare, then just walk away. Right, we're just going to run through the agenda. So I'm going to touch on voice technology, the age of assistance, and then voice technology and purchasing. So where we're kind of going with voice and Google search. James is then going to touch upon the changing face of search, AI, and he's going to tell you the future, which is going to be very exciting. Okay, before we start. They don't know this yet, but Google run regular events, regular challenges with our agencies to push really important areas of development, one of which is video. And Tim and the team are, and I've said this to them before, they're really engaged with what we do and engaged in what we look to push as products and services. And I'm really delighted to say that they are actually one of the winners in the UK and Ireland video challenge. So if you could just all give Tim and the team a bit of a round of applause. 3D.
Don't want a certificate, I want a trophy.
I was told by our marketing team a little bit earlier that the trophies aren't ready yet. They are being made. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I'm assuming they're going to be amazing.
Are they like those big Formula
Handcrafted. I think they're handcrafted. Not just knocked up in some corner shop in London. But anyway, there we go. Yeah. So well done, guys. Okay. Right, search has become the people's go-to path for assistance over the years. And if you thought mobile raised the bar for speed and usefulness, then your expectations are going to seriously accelerate. New smart devices are emerging. Consumer experience are becoming better and more tailored because of data and machine learning increasingly being applied by us and other vendors in that marketplace. Because of this, people will come to expect better and better assistance across multiple devices and through life. Getting assistance will evolve from typing on our phone to speaking to our car, our television, or maybe even our fridge in some cases. Amidst this change, brands need to find new ways to stay one step ahead of the consumer needs, but the change will require more insights, and that will require innovation. In the age of assistance, the ability to combine data and machine learning to address consumer needs will define how brands grow. At Google, we're working to apply our knowledge and our learnings from search and our understanding of data and machine learning to this problem. Together, we can help brands innovate to assist. As I say, it's a little bit wordy in places because this has come directly from the States, so I'm kind of trying to give you verbatim, but we can spin this out a little bit afterwards. Smart assistance technology. So this is pretty much what's out in the marketplace here. So I think most of us will have seen or engaged with some of this stuff. So we're talking about phones, speakers, laptops, cars, toys, appliances, wearables and TVs. Have we got anybody, pop your hand up if you've got any of these smart devices or have used any. Right, there's quite a few, most people, right? Who's got two? Yeah, no surprise there. Three, anybody? Yeah, we've still got three. Anybody with four? Crikey. Any advances on four? No? Oh my, what have you got?
I've got iPhone, I've got Alexa,
Yeah,
laptop, I've got Apple Watch,
yeah.
and I've got BB8 that responds to voice. Which is definitely not
Fantastic.
my 9-year-old son.
No, definitely not. Can you beat that, Martin?
Yeah. Smartphone, Alexa at home,
Yeah.
laptop, car with some autonomy on it, remote vacuum cleaner, appliance which is connected to Alexa, wearable, and a smart TV.
That's 7 on those.
I was gonna, see if anyone had a fridge, and then I'd be impressed. But the robot vac's just gone for me. So amazing, fantastic. So Martin, clearly a leading edge. Right. Okay. 7 in 10 smart owners speak to their devices to get answers to questions. Clearly, Martin only speaks to his devices to get questions. James does that a lot as well, or at least I assume it's his phone he's talking to. God only knows, to be honest with you. By 2020, 30% of web browsing is expected to happen without a screen. So just think about that for a second. Browsing the web without a screen. It's going to happen. Right, voice assistant at the moment. So this is kind of where we are with voice assistants at the moment. So if you focus on the sort of pink arrows, I mean, you don't need to go into too close, but essentially, voice assistance has been used at the top of the chart for price comparison and shopping. So 72% of 35 to 55-year-olds are using it for that purpose, and it's quite high across the board. So about 67% of people are using that for shopping and price comparison and getting questions answered. As well is quite high up there on number 4. So, a question might be something along the lines of, where's my nearest DIY store? Where's the nearest creche? Where's the nearest pub? So all questions that can lead to potential purchases, potential AI interactions through voice that are going to end up in a result of somebody spending some money with somebody else. Google have been busy, mostly in the States at the moment, to be perfectly honest with you. We've seen voice and chat-based shopping fueled by artificial intelligence. We see that as the next retail frontier. The majority at the moment of voice sales or voice purchases are going to be driving through retail. Other areas are looking at businesses looking at it across the board, but retail is going to be the real sort of leader in that area. We're already seeing a shift in user behaviour. 41% of consumers would like to manage shopping lists by speaking to digital assistants. I'm sure Martin probably manages an awful lot more than that, to be honest with you. The evolution is incredibly exciting and reflects a shift in how consumers will engage with your brand as businesses. With voice, users are already formulating their search query in a more natural, spoken language and expect shopping to be more personal and convenient, no matter where they are and what they're doing. Here we are now onto sort of the Google Home. I know there's a demonstration of this, but over here, Google Home's a little bit limited. I imagine you can probably guess where it's going to go over time. We're going to sort of explain a little bit about what's happening with it in the States. So in the States at the moment, shoppers expect the same fast, frictionless, secure way of interacting with their devices through voice. Voice search on mobile is getting shoppers warmed up to artificial personal assistants for all activities ranging from driving, cooking and socialising. By 2020, it's estimated that the average person will have more conversations with their bots than their spouse. Insert your own gag there. Over the years, we've enabled purchases with purchases with search on Google.com. Now, this is in the States, and it's a slightly different model in terms of how they use search than they do over here. And I think it's safe to say, the old adage about if the States sneeze, we catch a cold, chances are this is going to happen in the UK as well. Over the years, we've enabled purchases with search on Google.com, Google Shopping or Google Image search, as well as Google Express. This is in the UK only, but again, expect something similar, or if not the same, Google Express to come across the UK. More recently, we've enabled shopping through voice with Google Assistant. So we'll go on to the slide on that next. We recognise that adapting these shifts requires time, resources and expertise, and our aim is to help retailers take advantage of the investments we've made through the audiences we've built to acquire new customers through our transactional offerings. We'll see what's going to happen with, or what's happening in the States at the moment, but it's very much almost an Amazon Prime on steroids, but we'll have a look at that in the next slide. We purchased on Google. We're building a single integrated transaction platform to enable shopping across several surfaces, including voice. Okay, here's a quick snapshot of how each surface works. So this is Google search in the States. So you'll see from that it's broadly similar to the UK, but in the States, when shoppers search on mobile for a product, they may see a product with an easy checkout. So what that is that'll link through to a Google hosted site, which is retailer branded, but it's hosted with Google. They can go through and do a quick transaction through their Google profile. So it's making shopping a lot more easier than it is at the moment, and a lot easier to transact things a lot quicker. Google Express sat in the middle, so users here can buy from 50 retailers, and these are obviously all American retailers, including people like Target and Costco. Depending on the retailer and the user locations, products can arrive same day or next day, standard shipping terms. So again, this is where we're thinking sort of Amazon Prime, but with multiple retailers. So that's already in place in the States. Again, expect it to probably happen over here, not in the not too distant future. Google Assistant kind of links the two together. So Google Assistant is voice-enabled shopping on Google Assistant, powered by Google Express over there. Again, expect that to come over. Merchants opt into the purchase on the Google platform, and their inventory pulls through directly through to Google Express. So it's a little bit like shopping over here, pulls through, and you got your interface through voice. Here are one or two of the retailers that are using the products in the States. So it gives you a good example. There's some pretty big brands there, to be honest with you. So again, I think you could probably guess a lot of the brands that will probably engage with this sort of stuff over here. Overall, the program on a whole is looking to provide three key benefits for merchants. So reach more customers with access to the assistant. Merchants have new surfaces to interact with customers, drive more sales. Merchants can see an uplift in return on ad spend and purchases on Google, and maintain brand control. And whilst we're hosting a lot of these sort of microsites, the full brand control stays with the customer, so it's just extending a safe shopping environment for them. Key takeouts on voice search from my point of view, and James is going to go in a bit more detail, a bit more techie from here. Voice is already playing a major part in how we search, and this is going to grow. So, you know, if we went into AdWords accounts for some of you guys who've got AdWords accounts, you know, we could see where people have done okay Google searches. So we're already seeing the effect of voice on search and search return. Monetization for this, though, is going to take a little while. So it's not going to be overnight. It's probably going to be years rather than months to get that to a mature marketplace. But the key thing, really, the key takeout for me is that businesses should actively understand how voice is affecting their keyword strategy. And that's where, you know, you really need to engage either with your internal departments or your agency to understand your keyword strategy and how voice is affecting that and what you need to do. And that's both from a pay-per-click point of view, so paid search on Google, but also from natural SEO as well, because that's going to have an effect across the board. James is going to touch on that a little bit more. That's me. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick seamless handover with this microphone.
I've got one.
Oh, you've got one now, have you? Fantastic, wonderful. Can we grab that?
We're nothing if I'm not high tech, eh? Right, yeah, so cheers, Chris, for that. So, yeah, now we're just going to have a look a bit more about what that actually means from the search side of things, what it means for you as a business as well, and kind of what it's going to look like going into the future. That's kind of guesswork, to be honest, but we'll go through that. So it's going to be a massive change. Voice search is not just an extension of just standard type search we do at the moment. It's actually done completely differently. There's completely different semantics involved. I think Chris just touched on that briefly. The types of searches that you get with voice search are completely different. So there's going to be big changes in the entire search industry. You know, Chris spoke on it briefly. You know, 20% of searches in the US currently are done through voice search. So it's a huge number. We're talking hundreds of millions, if not billions of searches. Which is having a massive impact on the search terms that are coming through. It's having an impact on the search terms, which then has an impact on how the ranking in Google works as well. So the SEO strategies that you've got at the moment may not be adequate going into the future because of the changes that are happening. It's so big, in fact, that Google has actually had to change how one of its match types works. Exact match keywords they just weren't able to cope with the volume of search traffic that was coming through via voice search. So Google actually had to do an algorithmic change to their entire AdWords department, which is just huge. So it gives you an idea of kind of the impact that it's having across the entire industry. So if search is changing, then PPC and SEO are going to be changing as well. And you guys as businesses are going to need to be on board with that. You know, the digital world is very fast-paced. We're used to change. We're used to seeing things happen quickly. But I think with this, we're looking at it's moving just about as fast as it ever has. You know, this is a really significant shift. I mean, something I've heard chucked around before is SEO is dead. It's not dead, but there are going to be big changes that are happening. So we're going to see a move away from some of the old SEO methods, you know, looking at keywords and metadata, going to be moving towards more powerful options like structured data, schema. I don't want to get too bogged down in the details, but basically, organic traffic is changing, PPC is changing. You're going to need new campaign strategies. You're going to need more flexible structures in your campaigns. You know, that's what agencies like Innovation are here to do, is to help you kind of work through that, stay at the cutting edge, and make sure that your brand is ready. I think we're moving, from a mobile-first kind of world to more of a voice search-first kind of world. You know, a lot of what we touched on recently, you'll have heard, you know, your business needs to be mobile-ready, your site needs to be mobile-ready, is actually kind of moving more towards voice now and making sure that your business, your digital strategy is able to cope with those changes. So yeah, at the moment, the AI that powers it and voice search in general it's still a bit of an infant technology, to be honest with you. You know, if you've had cars with voice technology in a few years ago, you know that voice technology has improved from what it used to be. It's not totally disobedient anymore, but it's certainly still got problems. You know, you've probably asked your phone to do something and it just ignores you completely or does something that it's not supposed to. And the AI that powers it as well is not entirely there. This is quite a good analogy that I found. Don't know if you guys have actually seen this video before, but if it'll work. This is from Boston Mechanics. It's an actual video of one of their robots attempting to stack a shelf. It actually kind of reminds me of Chris at work, to be honest with you.
I thought it worked for a shipping. That's why it's so popular.
No, I've broken the laptop. Is it gone? There we go. Oh no, I've ruined my presentation. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's still in its infancy. There's still problems. You know, there's been some fairly large, fairly public failures with AI. Google had one, Microsoft had one, Facebook have had one, where they've kind of tried to do something new with AI and it hasn't really worked. If you haven't already, I'd look at the Microsoft Twitter bot. They basically got a Twitter bot to respond to people based on tweets it received, and yeah, I can't read any of them out, put it that way. But that's not to kind of, you know, slag off those companies. It's just to point out this is a very new technology. It's very nascent. It's going to have teething problems. But you know, even if it's new, it is a very rapidly evolving technology. You know, we're seeing huge shifts. You've probably one of them you may have seen is the upgrade to Google Voice Assistant. Have any of you guys used that on your phones? Okay, we've got 2. That's good. Yeah, it was one of the things that rolled out with Pixel. It was one of the big launches for Pixel. Basically, what it does is rather than what it traditionally used to do, which was just listen to one search query, it's actually capable of dealing with them together. So you can ask it one question and then follow it up with another question, and it will remember what you've told it. That sounds kind of simple and kind of obvious, but actually the technology that goes into that is very complicated. So we're seeing that even at that kind of level, but we're also seeing it in lots of different sectors. So recently, for example, there was a university in America. They developed an AI system which taught itself poker. It taught itself how to bluff. It taught itself how to deal with the imperfect data that you get with poker. And then it took on 4 world poker champions and thrashed them. Like they didn't even touch it. And it taught itself that from scratch. So we're dealing with some seriously powerful technology here, and we're going to see that going forward into the future. So what next? Like, what does that actually mean for the future? To be honest, we don't really know. It's at the cutting edge. There are people far more intelligent than myself and Chris working on this. Yes, we're going to see improvements in voice search. Yes, we're going to see improvements in shopping and making the process smoother and more efficient. But where we go from there, it's really, we're not 100% certain. We're not going to see kind of, Iron Man style Jarvis assistants anytime soon, but I think we are going to see more personalized, more intelligent personal assistants, which are actually going to be much more in tune with what you're doing in your life, much more responsive, and I think that's going to have massive effects, not just across the digital world, but just across the rest of our lives, really. So, yeah, it's an exciting industry, so it's just making sure that, your businesses are on top of it, you've got plans in place, and that, you're working with people at innovation to actually deliver and make sure that you're growing your business. So yeah, that's pretty much it from us.